And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very busy morning. This morning is Monday morning, January 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my brand new show, the morning show that will be airing every day. But first, let's get into today's top news stories that we will talk about in the next 30 that we will talk about over the next 30 minutes. Over this historic weekend, Nicolas Maduro captured by U.S. forces. A helicopter that kills 4 people, one husband and 3 nieces, day after their wedding. And more coming up today on the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 5:30 this morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Cooper Balitsos, and welcome to the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my brand new show that I will be posting almost every single day, possibly, very likely that I'll be posting every single day. But ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 a.m. It is 5:30 a.m. here in Nashville, Tennessee, and just sit back, relax, have coffee with me every morning. On your device, your phone, your laptop, your TV, have coffee with me here on the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. So first, let's go for that breaking news alert, ladies and gentlemen, out of South America, Venezuela, and the U.S. conflict. So, if you do not know, almost every single American does know. On Saturday morning, a team of U.S. military, the Air Force, the Marines, and the Navy, along with 150 aircraft, went to and onto the island of Venezuela and captured, first off, the incoming president at the time, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. They also sent 7 rockets. Around 7 explosions did impact the ground in Narcos, Venezuela. Right now, we are getting reports that there's around 80 killed per Venezuela media, and other Venezuela high-ranking officials and government officials are saying around 80 was killed. At the U.S., all that matter is the U.S. There was none killed of the U.S., what President Trump said on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. press conference. So let's give you a timeline with this. I did this on My Nation with Cooper Balitsos, but let's do this right now on a timeline. So around 10:46 at night on January 2nd, 2026, President Trump ordered General Raising-Kane and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to launch a attack and the capture or abduction of Nicolas Maduro. So around 2:01 a.m. Venezuelan time. They're on a different time zone than the Eastern time, but around 2:01 a.m. on Venezuela time zone, explosions were being heard in the capital of Narcos, Venezuela. Right now, there was multiple explosions. Right now, I only know that there were 7 explosions in the capital, but there was other explosions all over Venezuela. Some at military bases, some at presidential places, not presidential, government buildings, and other stuff. But that was around 2:01. Now 2:30 to 2:45, the U.S. military Delta Task Force landed and entered the compound safe house where Nicolas Maduro was at. At the time, he and his bodyguards were being evacuated to a safer, like a vault. Most of the security forces were Cuban. Most of the security guards were Cuban that was guarding Nicolas Maduro, and they were shot and killed on spot. Now, one U.S. soldier did get hurt, was grazed by one bullet, I believe in the left arm, but pretty much no casualties for the U.S. Thank the Lord that there was no casualties for the U.S. at the time. So another thing is around 4:28 Venezuelan time, everybody, all 150 aircraft, and Nicolas Maduro landed on a land or water military base in the Caribbean. These were military bases. A lot of these aircraft came from military bases in Puerto Rico. A lot came from the naval battle groups in the Caribbean Sea. There are two actually in the Caribbean Sea, and some came from more military bases as far as Cuba and I believe Florida. Don't quote me on that part, but that was that. And then President Trump at 4:30 did post that they had Nicolas Maduro in custody, in U.S. custody. So then let's go throughout the day. At 11 o'clock, well, it was scheduled for 11 o'clock, but around 11:45-ish, President Trump with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the National Security Council, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and General Raising Cane all had a press conference talking about the mission that was. Then President Trump did state that he and a special group will be running the country of Venezuela until it is safer. Now, President Trump did say that he might be putting boots on the ground. There are already boots on the ground, not a significant number, maybe around 100 or 200, what I got from some of my sources. There are boots on the ground that are keeping control, but right now, there are not a significant number of soldiers, U.S. soldiers, that are on the ground in Venezuela right now. Then they answer some questions from the press, from Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them. Then around, I believe it was 4:30-ish Eastern Standard Time, Nicolas Maduro landed in New York at a Stewart's, I think, at a military base in New York, where then he was brought by helicopter to the Brooklyn Penitentiary System in New York City. After that, he was arraigned, and then he is in jail with his wife right now inside that penitentiary as we speak here this morning, Monday, January 5th. But the now incoming president of Venezuela, I don't even know how to say her name. I can't say a lot of these names. She is demanding Nicolas Maduro to be let out of U.S. custody. She said that she will pay a high price to get him out, and he is the deserved leader for Venezuela. Now, right now, we're getting world reaction. We're also going to tell you about what is scheduled for today. We have the UN Emergency Security Council, I believe, and a Congress emergency, or that is tomorrow. I believe that's tomorrow, but let me fact check that real quick. But we will be back right after break, ladies and gentlemen, with this historic day, this historic past weekend. So we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, here on the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cooper Balitsos, and you're in the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. So this morning, events that is going to be happening today, the UN's Emergency Security Council meeting will be happening today with a lot of countries. That include Venezuela, I believe. Right now, we do know that is happening today. We know that the address or proclamation to Congress, emergency meeting to Congress, will be tomorrow morning on Tuesday, January 6th. So, another thing that how do we actually get here? How did these attacks really did begin? A lot of y'all know, most of America does know from the media telling you and hammering you on it, was these drug boats. So Nicolas Maduro was a very powerful drug lord, gun lord in the Caribbean. So what he did was he sent boats of Narcan, drugs, fentanyl, everything else that you can think of, a drug that kills you, to the U.S. that kills probably around, for each boat, what President Trump said, kills around 300,000 people in the U.S. Now, there was also weapons that he was sending to the U.S. There was criminals that he was sending to the U.S. In the past months, I believe, when President Trump did get into office until now, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has been blowing up boats in the Caribbean and in the Pacific Ocean. Now, lots of those boats, probably around, I would say 100, maybe around 150 people have been killed in a lot of those boat strikes. There's been reportedly around 10 boat strikes that I know of, major boat strikes, but President Trump is saying a lot more. Now, on Saturday did spark a new escalation. Another thing that Trump did want in Venezuela. Now, a lot of Democrats are saying that Trump really didn't care about the drugs and all that, cared about the oil. Now, this is a smidge about the oil. Venezuela has more oil probably in the world than any other country in the world. Like I just said, they have more oil than Saudi Arabia, Iran, and a lot of these oil fields, they don't work. A lot of these oil plants, they don't work. They really do not work. And Venezuela's just letting their economy just go to double hockey sticks because they won't fix these oil companies. They won't fix these oil fields or other oil, just the oil infrastructure there. Now, President Trump on Saturday did say that a lot of the oil companies, Chevron has announced this, that they will come to Venezuela and fix the infrastructure and fix the oil in that country. Now, another thing that Secretary of State Marco Rubio did say, and President Trump, that they're not, that they are, maybe, possibly, could be next, is the next country that could be attacked and could, next leader, but be captured, maybe, possibly, is Cuba. Now, Cuba is one of the biggest islands it's the biggest island in the Caribbean. It's a very big famous island for this past leaders, Federico de Castro. Then his brother ran the entire country for pretty much the longest time. He was communist, of course, but the incumbent president of Cuba is a communist too. The biggest thing that Cuba is known for is the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was also the Bay of Pigs, one of the most unsuccessful military missions in U.S. history. Was the Bay of Pigs. Yes, the Bay of Pigs. But it's been famous for the past years of its declining economy, its declining GDP. The only thing that Cuba really does rely on is its oil from Venezuela, and Trump did say that he will stop the oil to Venezuela, not to Venezuela, to Cuba. So that's a very big major news story. What does Cuba do next? Because that's pretty much Cuba's economy, is the oil from Venezuela. And another thing that Cuba is dealing with is blackouts. Last year in 2025 and 2024, they've been having major blackouts for a long period of time in the country. And then what else happened? What else has happened? Their people have they've really just the whole island itself is a dump, and it's just not in the best conditions right now. And President Trump does maybe consider Cuba could be next on the list of cleaning up that country. So that's another thing that's happening right now. But when we come back after commercial break, we will be talking about real reactions from this historic weekend, this past historic weekend, and some other major top news stories. I'm Cooper Balitsos. This is the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And we just got a new update from Venezuela this morning. The interning government. So, in Venezuela's interning government vows to keep united as a socialist and dictating country behind Maduro's following U.S. capture. So that's a very big deal. What President Trump thinks of that and what will happen in the next few weeks if President Trump does strike again. He did say if Venezuela does not cooperate, he will start striking again. So that's a very big deal. We know that right now the acting president of Venezuela, it was a former vice president. She is not cooperating that what Trump said, and she will pay the price. So right now, like I was saying right before break, we are going to read a lot of these international comments from different countries. Of Israel, of course, President Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel said that he supported President Trump's decision on taking down a dictator in South America. Now that was a very big deal, and he's a very strong supporter of Trump and the U.S. Another thing is North Korea. Kim Jong-un, the foreign minister affairs person, calling it a high handless act, saying that the incident is another example that clearly confirms once again that the rude and brutal nature of the U.S. Then we have reaction from France. President Emmanuel Macron called that Maduro's 2024 opposing candidate Minzo Gonzala, whom he refers to as president. So lots of countries, actually, one other thing, lots of countries, around 200 countries, did not recognize Maduro as leader past the 2024 Venezuelan election after he cheated. Now, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stated that Nicolas Maduro has led his country into ruin, and the most recent election was rigged, like many other countries have recognized. And a lot of these countries are having presidential elections. A lot of these candidates that's winning is conservative candidates in the world. Like in Germany, Chancellor Friedrich Merz is a conservative chancellor. Now in Italy, Prime Minister Giorgia Morgini is a conservative prime minister. She said she has a full government support for a diplomatic transition in Venezuela. Then we go to Ukraine, where Vladimir Zelensky said that U.S. now knows that what's next when dealing with dictators. And United Kingdom did say that the UK has long supported a transition of power in Venezuela. We regard Maduro as a president and as an illegal president, and we shed no tears about the end of his regime. Adding, I always say and believe we should all uphold international law. He also clarified that the United Kingdom was not involved in any strikes. That's what Prime Minister Keir Starmer said from the United Kingdom. And then we do have a reaction from the Communist Party and President Michael Diesel Castro Canal said that the criminal act by the U.S. on Venezuela that he called a urgent condemnation from the international community for what he described as a state terrorism against the brave Venezuela people and against our America. And then we go to South America people. President Jamal a Trump supporter and a long ally to Trump in South America, said that this is wonderful and that that Venezuela is now free. Then in Chile, the outgoing President Gabriel Boric said that he condemns the strikes. And then President-elect that is a conservative, Jose L. Cras, said that the capture of Nicolas Maduro was great news for the region. And that's pretty much all the world reaction. We have one other person that has gained some attention with Pope Leo. He said that the good of beloved Venezuela people must veil over one condemnation and lead us to overcome violence and undertake paths of justice and peace. That's what incumbent Pope Leo XIV said. But that is all that we know of right now, and that's pretty much our biggest news story this morning. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we can get to other little news stories like the helicopter that crashed in Arizona with a man and 3 nieces on the wedding day after a canyon collision. Another is that and another thing is about Venezuela. So a new episode of Jack Ryan, actually I did watch this last night, came out last night, and it was about Venezuela. And that was a very big, very actually big stunned surprise. And some people are saying that the directors knew what was coming and did that. That I did not believe that happened. And that's pretty much all the news right now that we have. We know that tomorrow morning we will be talking more about Venezuela, but we'll also be talking about the fraud here in the U.S. and the Minnesota fraud that's happening. But ladies and gentlemen, this morning, thank you for tuning in to this morning with Cooper Balitsos, the morning show with Cooper Balitsos. And I hope we can see you again tomorrow morning, Tuesday, January 6th. Yeah, 6th. Yeah, 6th. 6th. I'm sorry. January 6th, 2025. I'm Cooper Balitsos, live from Nashville, Tennessee. Have a great day.